Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Lilu Nishmas Imi Moirasi Rusbas Mordechai. I have a special gift for my very good friend Mendy Auerbach. Starting off the shir, Baruch Mordechai Ezrahi. Check out the screen. Of course. We'll get there. You got it? You got some audio? It's not. No, it's not. Okay. We'll go. We'll come back. We'll get it. Here now. How about now? Oh, it's not it. I have begun many an email to you, only to stop because there's so many things I want to say. That someone like you to learn from, I likely would not have gone without learning for 20 years. I completed one round of Shas recently, but only started listening to you, Yivamis. My life has been transformed. I share the daf now with everyone who will listen. My wife is interested in hearing the amazing insights you bring each and every day. Yesterday, I was fortunate to marry off a daughter. Mazel tov. Mazel tov. Happening soon. Well, I really wanted to invite you to the wedding and ask you to give the daf shir after the chuppah. I knew my daughter would feel that might take away from her simcha. Avrum simcha b'simcha. Shkoyach. Great excuse not to invite me. I love it. I wanted to invite you. It's sponsored. But she knows how important the daf is to my life. Here's a picture they took of me learning the daf while we were at the hall getting ready, and a video of my granddaughter saying good morning, Rabbi Sai. Something she's been saying for months. She loves it. Please keep inspiring the world. I literally cried when Rabbi Ben Trushan spoke at Bellworks and said that we, the working balabatim, are not supposed to be the people making this human. He was right. I never thought I could accomplish this stuff. And now with you, I feel inspired to accomplish even more. Thank you. Keep it up. All the best. Mickey Hyman, Cedarhurst, New York. P.S. I'm very close friends with Yaakov Badner, and we hope to make it to Yisroel for a siyum. Here he is, learning at his daughter's wedding. Unbelievable. At the wedding.
All dressed up for it.
This I love. All dressed up for the wedding. Harav Tzadik your belly. I'm a koilel younger man. I love when koilel younger man, younger light, sent in emails. He made a hack over here. So we had a guy, I just met him the other day. He hacked the Apple Play where you can watch the shir on Apple Play. But here's another one. Learning the daf for many years, but started learning with you. Beginning Kesubos Yeshir is making the daf a real enjoyable experience. Baruch Hashem, I don't have a smartphone, so how do I join Yeshir? I figured out a way to get the downloaded video through Bluetooth on my flip phone because 100%. The whole shir is about charts, especially today. We're going to have a sugya that we need charts. I'm not exactly sure how the other shiurim do it without it. Hashem should bench you to be able to continue your holy work and inspire so many Yidden. Whoa. This is a long one. I'm not going to read the whole thing. My name is Avrum Yaakov Schiller. He's sponsoring today. Basically, he got turned on by Dan Rubinoff from Teaneck, beginning of Tainus. He's about Tshuva from 25 years old. So he didn't have training in Torah, went to public school, and now he lives in Hollywood, Florida. He spent a year in Ranana, where he got to, this is what brings me to the ikr of my email. I came close to Chabad Shliach in Ranana, Rav Shneur Yitzakov, while we lived there. He happens to be a fellow Ponovitcher of yours, first in his class, a true tzaddik, Chabadski or Ponovitcher. I was so impressed with his energy, his dedication, speaking ability at Shabbos Fabring, his memory, and most of the generosity and kindness. Recently, Reb Schneer's 6.5-year-old daughter was nifter. She wasn't feeling well, went to lay down on the couch, and her heart stopped. She was rushed to the hospital. Then, just a week before this tragedy, Reb Schneer, the father, was attacked by an Arab on the street in Renan and suffered multiple stab wounds. Numerous news outlets, blah, blah, blah. There are things that are happening behind the scenes in this olam, and we have no clue about. How can this tzaddik get almost murdered one week and then lose his beautiful daughter the next? I'm writing this note to hopefully read it before sharing requests from the Chabur to do one more mitzvah in the name of Chaim Mushka Rachel Yitzakov. He sent me a picture, but I don't know that it's good to show a picture of a 6-year-old girl. Talmud, not because she was nifter. Your Talmud Avrum Yaakov Schiller. Here we go. All right. Now, it was an honor to meet you and join you live share. This is from Eliyahu Salam and Moshe Salam. They were here, I don't know, a whole week straight. We are now back to London. Please see attached photo of my son Moshe doing the daf on the flight home. He just won't take his MDY cap off. It also looks like he's not taking off his MDY jacket. I'll show you in a second. We look forward to welcoming you in London. since Yevamis. Here we go. You remember this guy? He was here the whole week, sat behind you, right over there. And here he is. And now, this is real. Somebody sent me this picture, and I thought it's a joke. No, this is his wife's license plate. Eli for MDY. MS. All right. Today's daf. Shalom Aleichem. Again, what's your name? I forgot.
Howard Shalowitz.
Howard Shalowitz from St. Louis.
St. Louis. And
Uncle Stanley, yeah?
Yeah, and my boys Max and Ari. Love
Max.
your shiur. They're 9 and 11.
You're Valdic. You got to bring them next time. Thank you.
God willing.
St. Louis.
Amen.
Oh, one of the very, very famous people from the Shir, he's on Zoom every single day, is having a very, very serious procedure right now. A very young guy. Everybody knows him, but I'm not allowed to say his name yet. Avrum Epstein ben Chana bracha. Refuah Shlaima and for good news.
Amen.
Huh? Ah, we have some guests. Shalom Aleichem. What's your name? From? Motty, you in Shiva? Yeah. Shmuel, you too? I know you from, you came last? Yeah. Shkayach, thanks for coming by. The Koilal is sponsored, zchus all the new people that joined. The second sponsor of the Koilal Abiration, coming asking Abiration, is more of the raising, Gittel Bas Esther. Rita should be Militza Yosher, half of us on all our children. Third sponsor, the Refuah Esther, Bas Bertona Biton. If I would have known that you guys are coming, I would have shown the video of you guys singing together. I took the video myself to show it in cheer. I can't pull it out now. It has to be on the thing. What? I didn't show it. Come tomorrow. Jeff Razin, zchus, my son, Yosef Simcha Chaim Ben Sarah Chana Refuah Shlaima. Parnas HaChodesh, Dr. Avrum Epstein, remember my precious Southern Belle, wife, mother, and grandmother, Rita Gay Epstein. Second Parnas HaChodesh, Michael Benmeleh, Motty Perl Aaron Hirsch. To make it to Uman Rosh this year. Third, Eli Nishmas zchariah ben Moshe. Fourth, the MDY Committee. Eli Nishmas, Ezra Tovia, Yaakov, Beresanel, Yitzchak, Ezra Pollak, all of Hashalom. MDY is sponsoring a full month. L'zeich Nishmas, the 2-year-old. The Paras HaYom, Nisim Akila of Eli Nishmat, Rav Shimshon Chaim ben Rav Nachman Michal Nahamani, the Zera Shimshon. Nachmani, the Zera Shimshon. The author of whatever you want to call it. The translator? Okay. Jordan Schiller. This is the email I read in memory of Chaim Mushka Bat Reb Schneier. Yisroel Goldstein. Lili Nishmas. Chanayenta Bas Reb Nisan HaKoyen. Hey Elul. Her on her 18th yard side. Yishkoyach. For all the sponsors. Zok Daily Gimar. We're holding the last line on Nun Vav Amud Beis. Achsei the Romi Bar Chama. The Gemara starts over the story. The sister of Romi Bar Chama. I have a riddle, Rabbi Yisai. You're a rabbi. Pretend you're a rabbi. And a tragedy befalls the community of the Rachman's land. It's a true story. Let's say a fire sweeps through the neighborhood and destroys homes, one after another. What is the first thing on your mind as a Rav? What are you going to do? What's first? Putting out the fire. Fire's out already. Next.
Smoke the herring.
Huh? Who said that? Very good, Rav Greenman. Very nice. So, it happened in Yerushalayim. Mamash, what happened in Ukraine? They chased you out of your house. It happened in Yerushalayim when the Jordanians chased the Jews out of the old city and they had to go to Kataman. So the Rav, Reb Zev Minzberg, he said the first thing you guys have to do, and everybody was really broken. They came out of there with nothing. The Arabs took everything. First thing you need to do is write a ksuba. Can't live with your wife without a ksuba. Zok Gemara. There's a guy that's holding and learning. You have to be holding. Like, it's not something that happens every day. After the Romi Bar Chama, I have an Asivila of Avia. She was married to Rav Avi. Irkas ksuba also, or ksuba got lost. Also coming to Rav Yosef. Omelahu, Omer Rav Yudah, Shmuel. Zu Divri Rabbi Meir. So, what do? So, Rabbi Meir holds that you're living in an Aveira, it's Nus. Don't worry about it. What are you concerned that the woman is going to be worried that her husband might divorce her without a ksuba, and therefore the bia becomes a bia's Nus? No, don't worry about it. You have 2-3 years. When there's a gzeira like this, a geyser that the bia's Nus, can't stay married. Yachi, zilk soivla. Go ahead and write a ksuba. We learned that even according to a mayor, if somebody doesn't have a ksuba, he has to pay for the ksuba 200. Remeir is the one that says you can't live without a ksuba. Or you just said Remeir holds that if you live without a ksuba, you have to pay 200. How did that happen? Says Rashi, either it's in a city that they don't have ksubas, that was their minhag, or the guy was over. Okay, fine. I was walking down, coming in here, literally, just a few minutes ago, coming in here, and I bumped into Rabbi Shlafrak, who has to run every morning, and he said, "What daf is it today?" I said, Nun Zayin. He says, "Oh man, I remember Nun Zayin from Yeshiva. Wow." But there's a classic Rashi. He tells me the Rashi. Unbelievable. Classic Rashi of Sheker, he tells me. You're saying, yeah? The Rosh says, yeah, it's a classic Rashi of Sheker. Okay, we'll get there. Oh, when you said it's easy until ayin ches, you didn't include it. Now, I got to tell you, I don't know how the other shiurim do it without charts, but with charts, it's a simple sugya. It's really a simple idea, just a lot of names. There's a lot of names there. This one said a name this and that one. So maybe that's what gets confusing, but the idea is very simple. So it goes like this. Yesterday, we had a machloikas. If a wife could be moichel or ksuba. Could a wife be moichel or ksuba? You remember this machloikas? Does it have to be in writing, or could she say it balpeh orally? Rabbi Yosef says it doesn't have to be in writing, it can be balpeh. Rabbi Yehuda says it has to be in writing. If you write it, you do a pretend receipt. He gives her a ksuba that says 200, she writes a receipt that I received 100 even though she never received 100. If it's orally, then it looks like a scam. It's a sham, a scam, no good. If you write it, then it's kilu. What's the difference? Let's say he gave her $100 and she gave him back the $100. You're okay with that? It says in the ksuba 200 zuz. He says, you know what? Here's 100 up front, and she says, okay, I love you. Here it is back. That you're asking that there's a deal. So she wrote it. I got it and I gave it back instead of going through the whole thing. But to say it, not. So we have a machlokes. That's all we're talking about today. This little machlokes. Could you be moichel a ksuba balpeh? Just saying words. I'm moichel my husband. Listen, he doesn't have a job. We got married. We're both struggling. Moichel, I don't need 200 zuz. Do 100. She said it. Rabbi Yosef says that's fine. Rabbi Yehuda says it's not good. You need it in writing. Now, at what point in time did this happen? That's the machlokes. There are 3 timelines in a marriage. There are 3 periods of time. One is right before the marriage even happened, right before chuppah. That's the beginning. One is the end. What's the end? Anybody? What's the end? Right after bia, consummating the marriage. That's the end. And then there's one smack in the middle. Right after chuppah, right before bia. Beginning, end, middle. At what point could a woman be moichel? If you hold she could be moichel balpeh throughout all 3 timelines, before the chasana, okay. After bia, she could be moichel, or maybe fakert. After bia, she could be moichel. Before the chasana, she can't be moichel. Which one is it? All 3, maybe. That's what's going on here. So here's a chart. We're talking about the black. There's machlokes Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. How do you do mechila? When you want to be moichel, you want to forgive the ksuba. Part of the ksuba you want to forgive. Does it have to be in a shtar or not in a shtar? That's the machlokes in the black. Rav Dimi and Ravin, they're going to argue what timeline is the beginning then. And they're going to quote Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shua ben Levi. But Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shua ben Levi are not arguing. There's no machlokes between them. The machlokes is in a later generation between Rav Dimi and Ravin. What did Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shua ben Levi say? Rav Dimi says Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shua ben Levi, who are a pair, they're saying the same exact thing. They spoke about this timeline. Ravin says, no, they spoke about this timeline. Which, going to that classic Rashi, one of them is lying. A lie. Meaning, I heard in Shir that Rebbe said this, and he says, I heard in Shir, Rebbe said that. So one of you spacing out and lying. It's a straight out lie. If I argue in learning with somebody, if I have machlokes to Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shua ben Levi, you're allowed to argue and you're not lying. Eilu ve'eilu divrei Elokim Chaim. I say this svara logic, you said this svara logic, it both came from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All these logics were discussed in Har Sinai. But if you're going to sit here and tell me that this is what Rabbi Yochanan said on Adar Aleph, Beis Adar Aleph in middle shir, and he said this, and I said, no, I was there, and he said that, one of you is lying. Okay, that's not the point of the sugya though. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shua ben Levi, green and red, are saying the same exact thing. The question is what they said. Rav Dimi says this, Ravan says that. You understand? That's the whole sugya. That's why it gets a little, the names and the this. Okay. So if we look at Rav Dimi, there's 3 timelines. Tchilas chuppah, meaning Tchilas chuppah means right before chuppah began. So they're not even married. There's no nesun yet. The 3rd timeline in red is really red. It's already over, done with. Is after bia, consummated the marriage. And then you have the middle one, soif chuppah, the end of chuppah, which is also known as tchilas bia, right before bia. So it's right in between. So according to Rav Dimi, the machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yosef, do you need a shtar or not need a shtar? Can you do Baal Peh? Is on 1 and 2. When it comes to after bia, there's no machlokes. Even Rabbi Yosef who holds you can do a Baal Peh. Over here he agrees you can't do a Baal Peh. You need a shtar. It's already too late. It's already after marriage. So she has to put it in writing. Everybody agrees that in step 3 you need it in writing. That's Rav Dimi. Now look at, and he's quoting Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shua ben Levi as saying this, as agreeing to this. Now we go to Ravan. Ravan says the machlokes is in 2 and 3, not 1 and 2. 2 and 3. On 1, which is before the wedding, everybody agrees you can do it orally. You can do Baal Peh. Forget shtar. Now we're not doing Bepeh. Now if you combine the 2 shittas together, I just pulled them out. So it looks like this. According to Rav Dimi, the machlokes is green and blue, 1 and 2. I forgot to put the numbers in there, sorry. And in the bottom one, soif bia is bishtar. And according to Ravan, it's 2 and 3 machlokes. And there's no machlokes in step 1. It's bepeh. That's the whole sugya and the story. Yeah, is it better? Very good. Okay. What's a svara? Yeah. Why can't you be Michael? I want to be Michael. I want to be Michael bepeh. Why not? He's only according to the other shita, according to Rav Dimi. Only according to Rav Dimi. I'm sorry. According to Rav Dimi is machlokes, and according to no, you're right. No, according to Rav Dimi, there's no machlokes. Everybody holds shtar. Okay, that's Rav Dimi. That's what he thought he heard in shir. Let's see it inside. Yosef Rav Dimi, Omar Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, Omar Rabbi Shua ben Levi, Mishum bar kapara. Here, so he quotes Rabbi Shua ben Levi. It starts off as if maybe there's some sort of difference between Rabbi Shua ben Levi and Rabbi Yochanan. Machlokes betchila. There's a machlokes. Don't look at the chart yet. It's not important until we get to we're going to straighten this out a little bit. There's a machlokes betchila, before the chuppah. But after bia, divrei hakol einoi mochelas. Even Rabbi Yosef will agree that you need a shtar. Why? She's not going to do b'leiv shalom. Okay, whatever the svar is. Rabbi Yochanan says, bein bezu machlokes. It seems like Rabbi Yochanan is arguing with Rabbi Shua ben Levi, and the second we're going to say then he's not arguing. Bein bezu. Whether it's before the chuppah or after bia, whether it's the tchila, whether it's the saif, the beginning or the end, there is a machlokes. So Omar Rebbe Avo, listen, no. There's nothing going on between Rabbi Yochanan and Shlakish. They're all in agreement, like this chart over here. Let's go back to this just for a second. Rav Dimi is saying that Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shua ben Levi are saying the same thing. They call period 2 and 3, they call different names, but they're saying the same thing. Omar Rebbe Avo, listen. I heard Rabbi Yochanan say himself, Da'anav, Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Rabbi Yochanan said, me, I myself, Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabbi Shua ben Levi, Loi Palginan. We don't argue on anything. Here, like in this chart. So when Rabbi Dimi is quoting Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shua ben Levi, he's not saying that they argue. They're in agreement. Da'anav Rabbi Shua ben Levi, Loi Palginan adadi. And my betchila de Rabbi Shua ben Levi, this period of timeline that he calls the beginning, Tchilas chuppah, it's the beginning of chuppah, before chuppah. Umay soif bia. at the end, all the way at the end. V'chika mina, no, but I call it a little differently. So he sticks in a new, something called the number 2 over here, soif chuppah, right after chuppah, right before bia. It's a new timeline. But I'm in agreement. Rabbi Yochanan, I never argued with Yisroel Levi. We're all in agreement. Okay, that's Rav Dimi. Now comes Ravin. Kiyasa Ravin Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi Amar Rabbi Yisroel ben Levi Mishum Bakapara. Oh, now he's quoting Shimon Levi. Machlokes lebas soif. Not the machlokes is not in 1 and 2. The machlokes is in 2 and 3. But before she ever did Nisuin, she's Arusa. Yes, but there's no Nisuin. It was right before Chuppah. She's not involved yet 100%, so she could be Michael. And once again, we're going to think that he's saying a machlokes, but he's not. Whether it's in the beginning or the end, is machlokes. Or Ravo, the same Ravo we had a second ago, the Mefashlim in Rabbi Yochanan, on this Rabbi he comes along and no, I heard from Rabbi Yochanan's mouth, the Ana, I Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yisroel ben Levi, we don't argue with each other. The end, he's talking about the end of the chuppah, not like we said before. Before he said soif means the end of bia. Now he's saying soif means the end of chuppah. The end, in other words, the blue box, not the red box, like we said before. That's where there's confusion maybe, in shir. He heard soif and one thought it meant after bia, one thought it meant after chuppah. Okay. Where's the machlokes? Where am I? Okay, everybody's in agreement. By the way, if you look at these charts, the blue box is always a machlokes. According to everybody, nobody's in agreement on the blue box. There's always a machlokes in the blue box. Okay. No. And I, Rabbi Yochanan, when I said this machlokes in everything, no. What I meant is 2 out of the 3. Tchilas bia, v'soif bia. Blue and red. Not green and blue, but blue and red. 2 and 3, not 1 and 2. Fine. That's the end of that. Now comes Rav Papa. Let me just tell you about Peh what he says. Very, very simple. He says, it's a good thing that Rav Bavo came along and said that there's no machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Yisroel Levi. Because if he didn't come along and say that, I would have thought something else completely. So, it's an interesting saying. The Gemara discusses that. If I would have bought that building over there in Ramat Gimel a year ago, I would have been a millionaire today. Okay, but it didn't happen. If this and this would have happened, then it would have been a very interesting machlokes. Well, it didn't happen. We said there is no machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. But if there was a machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish, this is how it would look. Hold on. No. It's not supposed. Here. If there was a machlokes between Yisroel ben Levi and Rabbi Yochanan, the Rabbi Yochanan would say there's a machlokes in all 3 timelines. And Rabbi Yisroel ben Levi, very interesting. He would say the first timeline, everybody agrees you can do it orally. The last timeline, everybody agrees that it needs to be in writing. The only machlokes is in the middle one. And Rabbi Yochanan is going to say, no, there's a machlokes. But guess what? That's not what happened. Rabbi Yisroel ben Levi and Rabbi Yochanan are in agreement. But if they weren't in agreement, that would be the machlokes. Okay. Omer Papa. If not for the fact that I heard from Rabbi Vo that there's no machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yisroel ben Levi, they're all in agreement. I would think there is a machlokes. Rav Dimi v'Ravin loy pligi, but the 2 Amoraim in the later generation, they're not in an argument. They're just quoting the Rabbeim, and the Rebbes are arguing. My soif the kama Ravin, soif chuppah. My tchila the kama Rav Dimi, tchilas bia. Anyways, my kamashmal. What is Republic coming to say? If, but there is no such thing as if. Hakamashmal. Very big chiddush. The pligi trei amaroi ataymed nafshayu, v'loy pligi trei amaroi aliba dechad amoira. So I basically explained this. Let's see. It's a lot better if you have a choice, says Rav Papa, to say that green and red argue with each other. So that's like every machlekes in Shas almost. And I say I learned it from here, from this pasuk. You say you learned it from that pasuk. I like this logic. You like that logic. That's Torah. That's arguing and learning. And after that we say Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim Chaim. But if I had a choice and say, well, maybe it's not the two earlier generations arguing with each other, but maybe it's the younger generations, Rav Dimi and Ravin arguing with each other. What the Rebbe said, that's terrible, says Rav Papa. That's sheker. That's the classic Rashi. That's sheker. One of them is lying. It's not comfortable for us to say that an Amayr is lying. He says a shot in Gemara, great, but to lie, to say that that's what he heard from his Rebbe, not. As Tosfos, wait a minute. Rabbi Yochanan and Yeshua ben Levi are arguing on the black box on top. What Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi said. Aren't they lying? No, they're not lying. Because they're in a future generation. They don't know what Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi said. They're arguing in logic what they said. We're arguing and learning. I think he said this, and I think he said that. He's not saying, I heard it with my own ears. If you say you heard something with your own ears, you're a liar. You didn't hear. One of you is lying. How can you both hear the opposite? But if we're going to say here, let's take Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. I don't understand the logic. Says Rabbi Yochanan, this is the logic. Logically speaking, they must be talking about only in case 1 and 2, but not in 3. And he says, no, logically speaking, it's case 2 and 3, not in 1. Before Bia, after Bia. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi never said when they're discussing it. So we're going to discuss logic. Fine. That's the end of the sugya. That's it. We're done. Moving on to the next one. Was that complicated?
Yes, for you learn it. You explained it beautifully.
Yishkoyach. Wow. Says the official Mishnah. Sponsored by Moshe Cohen. For hatzlacha with limited Torah and Parnasa. That's it. No, that's the hard. Now it goes all the way to Tayin Ches. He says we have 10 days freebies. This is the last sponsorship for the Mishnah, and if anybody wants to jump in and sponsor Mishnayos, they are available all the way to the end of the Masechta, says Yosef. And Nachama, we should say, Refuah is our very good friend. Everybody knows him. Avrum Menashe ben Chana. I have it on my desk somewhere, but you could. Scary stuff, scary situation. Huh? From Chana Bracha. All right. The actual fear, Be'ezer Hashem, everything's going to go okay, but the fear of not knowing, the unknown, the result should be great. Says the Mishnah. We actually started the Masechta with this idea. In those days, they would get engaged. Engaged was a very serious matter. It's not just, let's get married. There was a ring, Harei, Ad Mekudeshes, or not Mekudeshes, but there's a ring, Erusin. And typically speaking, they would go on their merry way for a year or so. Now, over here we're saying a new chiddush. When Mishetova Habal, when the husband, the chassan says, let's get married, from that point on, she gets 12 months. So it's not like, there's an engagement 12 months, and then they get married. There's an engagement for 12 months, then at month 11, you can say, let's get married, and from there, you have another year. So it was a long period of time until they matured and this and that. Okay, fine. Lefarnas is atzma, to get things ready. She has to get the apartment ready, furniture, and everything what goes on. Linen, the whole thing. Today we have cars, we run from store to store. It still takes 3 months. In those days, it took 12 months. Just like the woman needs 12 months, the man also needs 12 months. Now, what happens if the 12 months come and the woman says, I don't want to get married. I'm not ready yet. The wedding dress is not ready, right? What are we going to do? Can't get married. Now what? So she is a moiredes. She's a rebellious woman. What's the punishment of a rebellious woman? 1 dinner per day off her ksuba. 7 dinarim a week. So, you don't want to take your time. A month, it's going to cost you 30 right off your ksuba. What if he doesn't want to get married? What is he called? A moired. What's the punishment of a moired? 3 dinarim a week. She has to add to her ksuba 3 dinarim a week. Okay. I hear these women, oh, it's not fair. Take off the woman, 7. No, because women are always late. Oh, you just said women are always late. You're right. Okay. Oh, he's right. He's right. It's a good svara. To add is a lot harder than take off. She already has a pot. Now we just take off from the pot. He has to add to the pot. Okay, I hear. Says the Mishnah. Ula almana, she's already been through this once before. She has furniture. She knows what she's doing. She has all the dishes. 30 days. From the day that he says, let's get married, 30 days. Higiyaz mabelei nisu. Right, that was the first Gemara and the first Daf in Masechet Kesubos. The 12 months come. If he happens to be a Kayan and the wife of a Kayan eats Truma, but now she's not his wife yet. She's supposed to be. The wedding, the invitation says today's date. And it came and she's not ready. So whatever the reason. She could start eating Truma. Now, why can't she eat Truma until that point? So we said throughout the Masechta a number of times, one of the most famous lines in the Masechta, maybe even Nashim, is that we're concerned that the brothers are going to eat. If she has Truma, and she puts it in the refrigerator, so a brother comes along, a father comes along, opens up the fridge and sees good food and he's going to start eating the Truma. Where does she live? She lives by her parents. And she has her food with everybody else's food. It's a problem. But once she's supposed to be married, she gets to eat the fruit. But why? The brothers are going to eat it. So the Gemara discusses that. Reb Tarf and Oimer, noisim lahakol Truma. This is a big chiddush. She's waiting for whatever. He could feed her pure Truma. Truma is less expensive, right? It's only a kain, food that only a kain eats. But the problem is that who could eat Truma? Somebody who's tar. What if she's tameh? She can't eat it. Too bad. I'm giving it to you. Do whatever you want to do with it. Sell it off for nothing. Buy chulin. I don't care if you can't eat it when you're tameh. Rebbe Kiva Omer, no. You have to be concerned about her. What is she going to eat when she's tameh? Mechza chulin, mechza Truma, 50-50. You have to give her some food that she can eat when she's tameh. Says the Mishnah, Yavam enu machal b'truma. So, if you weren't with us for Yavamas, this might be interesting, but this is 101 Yavamas. You have a Baldwin brother, Reuven, and a Yerushalmi lady with a fish coming out of her wagon. I don't even remember how geschmack this picture was. She has a chicken. Only because when I grew up, I remember women in Yerushalayim walking with their baskets and like the yellow feet of the chicken sticking out. So I told the artist he has to put that in there. I don't know if anybody ever got that. No, in this generation, everything's nicely cut with no, not in those days. So what happens is this guy goes sideways, and therefore she falls. Liyibom to, I should have put Dr. Factor because he's here today. Avi's in America. Shimon. These are the Baldwin brothers. They're all bald. And what we call this is Zika. She is bonded to this Yom. She's not married to him. She's bonded. Now, they have to decide. Chalitza or Yibum? Am I going to marry you? I'm going to allow you to remove my shoe, and we have nothing to do with each other. But until they do something, they have a bond. That bond is not strong enough for her to eat Truma. Even though her late husband was also Kayin, because they have to be brothers from a father. So Reuven and Shimon are real brothers. So if Shimon is a Kayin, I hope Reuven is also a Kayin. And she was eating Truma because of Reuven, but not now. That's it. We put that on a break. There's no Truma now. Now there's a lot of extra words here. It would seem like extra words. She was married to the husband for 6 months, or not married. She's engaged for 6 months. Now she's waiting in the wings for a decision from the Yavam. Is he going to marry me? Not going to marry me? 6 months. And even if it's 11 months and 28 days, 1 day less than a year. Or everyone's going to have to discuss this. What's going on? Why so many words? What's going on? You have a year with the Yavam, minus a day. He only was engaged for 1 day. She doesn't need Truma. Says the Mishnah Rishayna. But the Bezdin afterwards said, it's not enough just to come up on the day that they decided. They have to go into chuppah. We just turned to Nun Zayin Amud Beis in honor of Yankee Baum and Moshe Horn. Bracha hatzlacha b'chol hanyanim. What? Yeah. In the case of a year past. In the case of a year past that we said she starts eating truma, no, you don't eat truma until this chuppah. Zchus being able to support Liman HaTorah and to finish learning Shas with the rebellion. Minan Emili, how do you know about this 12 months? We're talking about Lavan and B'suel and Eliezer, right? Eliezer says, I want to take Rivka for Yitzchak. Say Lavan and B'suel. No, she can't go. How about you stay, we keep her for 2 days. Oh, 2 days is not good? You want to take her now? Okay, how about we keep her for 10 days? Still died. Okay, Lavan. Yeah. I thought it's both. Okay. It's interesting, because right before that, they say,
You know what happened?
oh, so they mean the die before that. In that case, yeah. Hina kach.
We said they were.
Yeah.
Then they went to sleep. The morning.
Right.
They didn't want to do it.
Right. Okay. Hina rifka lefanecha kach v'leich. In the beginning, they said, take her right now. All of a sudden, no. What's the pshat? Okay, Rav Karel says pshat. That when they saw the money, they were motivated by money. Take her right now. And they thought they're going to get all this gold. All of a sudden, Eliezer gave all the gold and silver to Rivka, and then to them they gave McDonald's. McDonald's. For that, let's keep her. For 2 days. So, what's 2 days, says the Gemara? It doesn't make any sense to say it's 2 days. We want to keep her for 2 days. You're not happy with 2 days? Okay, let's keep her for 10 days. It doesn't work like that. It goes the opposite. If the words yomim, right? Days. What's the least of days? 2. That's how people speak. So Eliezer said, no, I don't want 2 days. It's too much. Okay, fine, not 2 days. Doesn't make sense. Shana. So in this case, you have to say yomim means a year. By Chaim, a very interesting halacha. If you sell a house, this would work unbelievable here in Amud Beis, where real estate went up over 50% in the last year. So every single person that would sell a house here in Amud Beis, and it might be a city that it's a walled city, there's a whole Nidan by Purim, everybody could buy their house back at the original price. You have a whole year to do that. So it says the word yamim. You have how long? A year, not 2 days. You have a whole year, and a year is called yamim. Yamim ti'egulasim. As the Gemara, maybe means a month. The siv at chodesh yomim, right? And then, so they told Eliezer, okay, give us a month, or if not a month, give us 10 days. Now that makes sense. They went to a high number, yomim, give us 30, and they said no, ayasar or 10. You don't go from 2 to 10. You go from 30 to 10. You go downwards. You're negotiating. Amri don yom stam, miyom stam. Now, if the words days by itself, that means something else. Then if it says chodesh yomim, chodesh means a month of days. So that, yeah, you're right. When it says the word chodesh right before the word days, that means 30 days. But if it says the word yomim, like by us, by itself, it could mean 2, not 30. Okay. Yeah, a year and 10 months. Right. So it's now, what does Asar mean? Not 10 days. Give us a year. And he said, no, I don't want to give you a year. Okay, so give us 10 months. Yeah, and it just makes sense. 12 and 10. You go from 12 months to 10 months. You don't go from 12 months to give me 10 days. That's not how you negotiate. Omer b'zeira, Tana, bein hi, ubein avia, yichayil na'akiv. A young girl, before Bas Mitzvah, she doesn't want to get married, she doesn't have to get married. Her father wants to marry her off, she says, no, I don't want to. How could he interfere? It's too late already. Why could he stop her? He could interfere, says the Gemara. She doesn't understand what she's getting herself into. There's certain things, as Rashi explains, in marriage that are difficult for a young girl. So Mela, she doesn't want it. But he also doesn't want it. Why? Because now he's going to have to come up with another wedding package. He just paid the chassan watch and the shas and the this, and now he has to do it all over again. I don't want that. Or you don't set a date for ktana when she's a ktana. But when she's 11 years old, you could decide a date. When she becomes more mature. In the Shulchan Aruch it says, there's a mitzvah not to marry off your daughter when she's a Ketana. Says the Ramah for the Ashkenazim. He says, but in our days, I don't know, 400 years ago, nowadays, we're so poor, and that explains what's going on here. Why would somebody do that? And we don't understand completely. It doesn't make any sense to us. In America, you go to jail for that. But they were so poor in this that they didn't know what to do with their kids. They couldn't put, you see from this Gemara that we're arguing about 1 or 2 days between the Chazan and Kala. Who's going to support the Chazan and Kala? The year came up, and now what? Who's going to feed me? Take a peanut butter sandwich from your father's refrigerator. No. I am going to take you to Bezdin, because there's 2 days between Sunday and Monday when the Bezdin comes into, who's going to feed me? Who's going to feed me? They didn't have money. They didn't have money, says the Ramah. So we could be Mako and let somebody marry somebody when they're Ketana, says the Ramah. It's unbelievable. We're goalless. We don't have the dunya, he goes, all thing. Of course, she's a Gdaila. So why shouldn't she be able to, why can't you discuss wedding dates when she's 11 years old? But by the time she gets married, she's going to be a Gdaila. So what's the big chiddush? There is a chiddush. Because you're talking about wedding, so she anxiety is going to kick in, and it's going to destroy her body. She's going to get weak from it. No, you could. Don't worry about it. If she turned 6 months after a nairus, like let's call it 12 and a half years old, and she received kiddushin, from the erusin, says Rashi, not from tviyah. So we have to understand. It's not. Now we're going back a little bit. The Mishnah was talking about when the husband says, the cousin says, I want to get married. Oh, then the clock starts ticking another 12 months. Over there, from the moment she gets engaged, she only has 30 days. Peloploim. Taisa discusses it. Older Shem discusses it. How in the world do you have 12 months? A naira, she gets, her clock starts ticking, she gets 12 months. But if it's 6 months later, and she turns into Begeres, she only gets 30 days. So where in the world do you get 12 months? So Taisa has to be that a Begeres, it's when you do it, when you become engaged, when you're a naira, you get 12 months. But when you get engaged, when you're a Begeres, you lose all that. So you have to understand the svars behind it. Says the Gemara, Meisvei. Is that true that a Begeres, a 12 and a half year old, only gets 30 days? Bagra, it says, if she became 12 and a half, Harehi Kitvua. She's like a girl, like a naira, that was asked to get married. What does that mean? And right after Erusin, in other words, just like a tvua, when a chassan asks his kala to get married, the clock starts ticking. A Begeres is as if he asked her to get married, and her clock starts ticking when? Immediately, right by Erusin. He doesn't even have to ask her. He's like somebody that asked his kala to get married, but she doesn't. She doesn't have to be asked. It's right after my love kitvua de psula. So you're talking about just like a psula gets 12 months. So Alman also gets 12 months. So why are you telling me Alman only gets 30 days? That's the Gemara's question here. Huh? A Begeres, what did I say? Oh, okay. A Begeres gets, why do you tell me a Begeres gets 30 days? You see over here, L'chayra, a Begeres gets 12 months. Lie, Kitvu da Almana. We're not talking about a Psul. We're talking about Almana who only gets 30 days. So a Begeres also gets only 30 days. Tashma. And of course, the Gemara always does this. We have a bomb question that we're going to say for the last one. But meanwhile, let's get rid of the smaller questions. Could we bring a right from these? Meisvei? No. Tashma. Begeres shas hashneim s'chaydesh. If a Begeres waited around 12 months. So here, that's the problem. You see 12 months, not 30 days. We know that a kala, you need, if she makes a neder, you need the husband and the father to annul the neder. Over here, in this case, since he's paying her mizaynis, the husband has full zchus to rights to be made for a neder. So, but once again, it says 12 months, not 30 days. Ema Begeres, there's two cases here. This is a case of Begeres, and also there's a case of a nara. And the second case is Vishas Hashem Sochaydish. This nara, not a Begeres, is 12 months. But the 12 months is not talking about the Begeres. So I don't have a right. The Begeres is 12 months. A Begeres is only 30 days. Okay, fine. Toshma, another one. Hamars is a psula, engaged to a psula. Whether one of them doesn't want to get married for whatever reason, you get 12 months from the time that you were asked to get married. It doesn't start ticking right away from engagement. Ubagra, And if she became a begeris, 12 and a half, harei kitvua. Ketzad, how does that work? Bagri yemechad v'niskacha, if she's 12 and a half in one day, and then she got engaged, nice and low, what does it say here? Nice and low? Shnei masach chodesh. A begeris. One day, 12 and a half years old in a day, who gets engaged, gets 12 months, not 30 days. To yufta the ravuna, to yufta. Let's just finish the two dots, 3 lines. Bam question, I don't have an answer. What does that mean? She had 12 months when she was a begeris. In other words, she's 13 already, 13 and a half, and then she became engaged. Then she only gets 30 days like an almana. Have a wonderful day. It's great to have you.